will officially call this workshop to order at 5:36 p.m. We'll begin with roll call. We'll invite our City Clerk, the Treasurer, Jill Nielsen, to perform that for us.
Okay, Andy Wilson,
Speaking, I am here.
Mark Fennison,
Present.
Joe Shy,
Present.
Kevin Flynn,
Present.
Justin Olson,
Present.
and Mayor Smith.
Present. We do have a quorum. I appreciate the presence in unanimity of our City Council members. Appreciate that. And I officially welcome members of the community and other interested individuals relating to the topic of this workshop. With the quorum, we'll proceed with our Pledge of Allegiance and would invite audience to please rise. Invite Wilson to lead us, please.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to make one little comment.
Please.
For you young people out there, today is a day that Germany surrendered to the United States of America. And I was on the Pacific, but I'm very happy to be a God bless American.
Amen.
Your service enables us to conduct this meeting in English and not German. So, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Seriously. It's my privilege as the Mayor Vader to introduce the subject matter of this workshop, and to which relates directly to the efforts on the part of the property owners within the city limits of Vader to take advantage of the passage of State Law 502, which would allow the development of legalized marijuana in any form, recreational or medicinal, within the state of Washington. This is one of a series of meetings, workshops that we've had over the past several months. And so is a continuation of that effort, primarily to benefit those new members of the council who were newly elected in to start 2014. And a workshop is an informal gathering of members of the public who feel that they would like to express their personal opinions on that topic. So the council's responsibility to simply listen to the input from members of the public. You are able to ask questions. Questions are appropriate in this setting. And it's of utmost importance that members of the public feel comfortable in your opportunity to present your perspectives to the elected officials within the city limits of Vader. So with that, it's my job to moderate this meeting and to ensure that those who are present and who have a voice to be heard can do so within the time constraints that we've got, and my talking every minute reduces the time that you have to speak. So I will stop talking here forthwith, but would like to see by a show of hands how many would like to be heard who are in favor of the commercial development of legalized marijuana in the city limits of Vader, who would like to be heard tonight. Okay, I see 3 hands. I'd like to see by a show of hands how many are opposed to the notion and would like to be heard at this workshop. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have, council members, we have 7 individuals who would like to be heard. We could take the 40 minutes and divide by 7. And 6 times 7 is 42. Would that seem reasonable to grant each speaker 6 minutes?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right, and now if there were members of any group that would like to defer their time to one single speaker, would you be opposed to that concept?
No.
Okay. So with regard to the group that is in support of it, would you each, all three, like to be heard individually? Or would you like to defer? Yes, Mr. Miller.
One thing that I was hoping we could have time for, I'm the property owner that he's talking about, interested in developing business with marijuana. And if people on the council, people in the public have questions for me and what that development looks like, I don't mind doing a question and answer, whether it's public or the council or other.
If that would be acceptable, would the council consider that
Well,
request?
I don't want to defer from the people that are against it, so if he wants to use the time for the other people that are for it, that's fine.
Mhm. Okay, so I would, inasmuch as this workshop was initially requested by Mr. Melton and supporters of it, I would defer to allowing them to begin. So with that, let's turn the microphone. We'd invite each of the speakers to approach the podium. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Is he using his time as a question and answer?
He can, in my opinion, he can use his time as he deems
But
appropriate.
we're not setting aside special time
No.
anywhere
No.
for question and answer
Nope.
period. That's just he
6
can
times
use
3
his time.
is 18 minutes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Can I ask why? Because isn't this whole thing about his?
And question and answering him.
I mean,
It's city council's prerogative to hear in a workshop the opinions of the members of the public. And so when a workshop is held, the council, well, I don't want to put words in their mouths, but it's my responsibility to moderate these meetings, so feels appropriate to hear both sides of the issue. So, was there a comment from the council that would differ from that perspective? Okay. Then every minute being precious, let's turn the time over first to Mr. Melton.
My name is Brandon. I own the property on the west side of town. For those who haven't met me, I'm happy to take time and answer questions outside of this format if that is something that appeals to you. I have tried to do a good job of listening to both people in favor of this and people for it. And I'd like to spend the time I have talking, really addressing the people that are against this. For the record, I'm clearly in favor of the development, and I'm also in favor of what I see as a world of good that this product can do. But I'd like to play devil's advocate for a couple minutes if I could, in hopes of answering and addressing questions and concerns that people in the community have about what this particular development is going to look like and mean for the city of Vader and the surrounding community. So probably the biggest area of complaint that I tend to hear is if we let marijuana into the city, then we're going to have crime, there are going to be increased use of marijuana, there's going to be all the negatives associated with what could come out of that. So, since the last time we talked about this, a few months have gone by, we have new information that speaks directly to what that looks like. Colorado is doing this along with the state of Washington, and they're ahead of state of Washington. So their retail shops opened at the beginning of the year, January. And we have our first quarter of data to see what that's looked like. You know, did crime increase? Did we have all this negative effect from that? So I pulled an article that talks specifically about what happened in Colorado as a result of the new law.
Thank you.
Colorado had people concerned about just the same things that I'm talking about. And in fact, they had a county sheriff that was a real adversary of the new law in Colorado. And he had a lot of concerns about what was happening with crime as a result. But I'll quote from the article briefly here. So we have the numbers coming out for the first quarter, and there are changes, and the change appears to be a good one. Property crimes in Denver alone fell 14.6%. Violent crimes dropped by 2.4%. Add this to the $14 million in sales revenue the state took in their first month alone. And it looks like the opponents of Proposition 64, which legalized marijuana to all citizens, have a lot of crow to eat. So the legalization of marijuana has shown no increase in crime and has in fact appeared to reduce some violent crime, including homicide. We also have good data now, not just from areas that have legalized it for recreational use, but we have quite a bit of data now from, I think there are a dozen or so states across the country that have legalized at least medical marijuana. I have a Washington Post article that specifically crunches the numbers in a national way. So we've talked about Colorado. This is the national perspective. I hope you'll take the time to read through the article, but it's more of the same. The title of this is No, Legalizing Medical Marijuana Doesn't Lead to Crime. In fact, this can be a big savings. Without our precious resources of policing, court system, all that stuff that's been traditionally spent on low-level marijuana crime kind of busts. These guys are free to look after stuff that most people think is more important. We have data now from the state of Washington that our Justice Department is saving money since the law took effect at the beginning of the year. So we don't even have stores that are selling any marijuana product, but we're already saving money on prosecution and policing. And the last thing that I wanted to point out is this has a significant benefit for, I think another concern I hear a lot is that teenagers and the kids are going to be affected by this, that we're going to have more drug use because this is here in town. I mean, I can say, the obvious point about that is that, I don't have any plans for retail business. There is no retail store on my property where this product gets sold. In fact, because I will have a producer-processor license, it's illegal for me to also have an interest in a retail store. So this is really similar to like having a brewery in town. In other words, the beer doesn't get consumed at the plant. It gets bottled, it gets made there, and then it gets shipped out all across the state in this case. So I don't understand how people are making the connection between increased usage when we're not selling it to an individual. This is a manufacturing center. And the other nice thing about the way this law has been crafted is it's gonna produce millions of dollars that are directly slated to help with the campaign that regulates this so that underage people don't get it. And that's been one of the big successes of this process of legalization, is that the more we can regulate it and make it legal, the better control we have on this product so that we don't see it ending up in the hands of underage kids. So I'll leave a copy of this in case anyone wants to look at it, but it's a real easy thing. We're looking again at Colorado. They had a program where they began to regulate aggressively the sale and consumption through their medical system. And a couple years later, the high school use of marijuana is down. So in other words, it's so simple if you think about it. Can you address the teenage use of this product better by regulating it or by just saying it's illegal? Because everybody knows you can find marijuana. You know, what high schooler can't get a hold of some marijuana illegally? But if you put some controls on it and you have this be a legal product that is now regulated, we have a much better chance at only having it in the hands of people that are adults that can legally consume it.
So, Brenda, I need to inform council that 6 minutes are up. But did you want to consolidate one of the other?
Yes, we're going to consolidate to 2 people. So
Okay.
what I'm hoping is to say, I think there are good numbers coming out of Colorado. There are good numbers coming out from the state of Washington, what we've seen so far. I feel really encouraged by that. The development that I have here is strictly a wholesale initiative. And I mean, you can see my face, I'm the property owner. I encourage you to talk to me if you have other questions about this. But I'd like to introduce you to Jane, who is interested in renting. She is interested in renting a small piece of this to do a similar wholesale production operation. So these are people that, you know, the people that are interested in running these businesses are people that live in our area. They're people that just want to run a reasonable, responsible, legal business that is, I think, going to be of huge help to this area. The biggest thing that people are going to notice is just the jobs. So I think that it's possible that we can look at this. If I was somebody that really did not like marijuana, I can sympathize with that. That's a reasonable position. You know, I can't convince people. I'm not here to talk about, you know, what does it take to let you enjoy marijuana. That's not the point. You know, your job is to form public policy, and I think that that needs to be informed by what's best for the public. So whether you personally like the product, don't like the product, that's kind of a different issue than what is best for the town in this case. So I can make a quick point about sometimes you can have a strong feeling about something, and that logically, intuitively leads you to say, let's keep it out, or let's not do it. But that's not always the same thing as what's right for the town. Does that make sense? A quick example from, you know, something that's less controversial. I remember reading a couple months ago that a big study came out that has to do with breast cancer. So traditionally, the best way to prevent breast cancer is you get a mammogram, and people typically get a mammogram about once a year, once they're over a certain age. So this study pointed out, though, after studying thousands of women for decades, that it doesn't actually help you prevent cancer by getting all these mammograms. And that was a shocking thing for the health industry, because that's always been like their mantra, just go in there for annual mammograms. But now they're changing that guideline. They did an extensive study. They grounded it in good principles, good science. The facts are in. It actually can hurt people sometimes. You know, you're treating cancers that they discovered that didn't need more invasive process, more radiation. It's not always good for people. So there are times where you can look at the facts and say, well, you know, I would have thought before then that, you know, if my mom or my wife wants to prevent breast cancer, we'll get a mammogram. the data tell us otherwise. So I think this is similar in a way. If what people are really concerned about is crime and having this be a negative influence in our town, well, let's quantify that. What does that look like? And if we can agree that this might actually help us with crime and help us have a better town, then whether we have a strong feeling yes or no about marijuana, that may be a totally separate issue. You know, I'd like to just have an open mind to think about that. What if, by this being legal and having a responsibly run business in town, this provides us money, this provides us jobs, and this has a chance to lower our crime? Thank you.
Did you want a question and answer? You still have time.
By all means, yeah.
I got a question. What would be the city's tax for what you're doing in the city if you agree to it?
The city benefits in several ways. So one of the city's, if not biggest source of revenue, is property tax. So when we do development, that raises property value, and then that's taxable, and that ends up right here in City Hall.
But there's no tax on the product that you're producing.
There is not a direct tax on the product that stays
That's
with the
good,
city.
because we don't need that tax, you know, we're doing well.
Well, let me say this too. At the last legislative session, that was a big point of contention. So what the Democrats versus Republicans are arguing about is not how to make this illegal or how to change it or how to roll back the clock on this. What they're trying to figure out is how do we get this. A lot of legislators want a direct tax that goes from the marijuana to the local jurisdiction,
To the city,
to the city in this case, yes.
we don't need it. Hell, we're rolling that money.
I got a question.
Mhm.
You're backing, you have enough cash flow to put this in, secure it, go through the state procedures, they're gonna turn over every stone. You're confident that what you're doing there is gonna pass the state once you apply and get approved?
Yeah, the state has a quite rigorous process that they put you through for licensing. So it is not just security system, but it is specified every detail. How many pixels does each camera have? Where does each camera go? 2 cameras at every door. Surveillance, alarms, you know, they cover all that. They do a physical inspection of the property before they give you the license. They go through paperwork, they do background checks, they do all kinds of stuff. So, you bet.
But I'm asking about your financial status. Are you
Yeah.
able to go forward and not just be sitting? You know what I'm saying? So if they did approve, are you planning on going in there and doing it? Or are you gonna just phase it out for the 9 years or 8 years that you've been?
No, I'm here in front of you because I'm ready to do it. You bet.
Okay. We have a question from
Would
our
it be
city clerk.
appropriate for me to ask?
There are 6 minutes left on the supportive perspective. We had another speaker who wanted to support you in it. If we're going to have time for that person, then.
Okay. Well, why don't I let Jane come up here so that you guys can meet her, and if we have any time left over, I'm certainly available to answer more questions.
Hello. I was at one of your meetings.
State your name, please.
Oh, hi, I'm Jane Waite. I'm from Kelso, Washington. And I was at a meeting, I don't know, about 2 months ago of that. So after I was there, I have some thoughts that I put to writing here, and I'm going to read it to you. So I am a resident of Kelso, Washington. I'm a 54-year-old mother and retiree with 25 years of government service with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. My partner is not able to be here this evening because he is turkey hunting in Pennsylvania with his father. I attended Penn State University in 1978, and during that time, I smoked marijuana. The father of my son attended and graduated from Penn State in 1981 with honors, and he smoked marijuana. My son graduated from Penn State University and is running a successful business in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he smoked and still smokes marijuana. I did not graduate, but that is not because I smoked marijuana. It is because I pursued a gainful employment and became a wife and mother. In my 25 years of service as a civil servant, I advanced through the system and retired from my position as a caseworker with the welfare department and worked with welfare recipients. I saw a lot of heartache, a lot of legal issues, a lot of addiction, and just families in terrible situations in that position. And that was not because of marijuana. Therefore, I find it difficult to listen to people who have commented in this forum who blame the demise of their youth on the so-called gateway drug known as marijuana. Smoking marijuana is not the problem. I have a daughter who is 16, and she is in the top ranking of her class, captain of her swim team, holds a part-time job. And she, as all Washington youth, are very aware of marijuana and understand the legal ramifications, and most recently, the legalization for those over the age of 21. She has expressed to me that it's about time, and has a knowledge and respect of the use of alcohol and marijuana as exhibited in her home. I believe after having numerous conversations with my daughter about our expectations and level of responsibility that she is required to meet, that she is educated, and if she chooses to consume legal stimulants, she will do it responsibly. With that said, my partner, Tony, and I are looking to establish a marijuana production business here in Vader at the Atlas Street location that Mr. Milton is developing. We are entering into a business agreement with Mr. Milton and are very excited about the opportunity that he is affording us and the future that it holds for a small operation like ours to exceed. Not to mention the possibilities of revenue and employment it will bring to the city of Vader, and maybe a library. Marijuana is and has been here, so with the consensus of the voters of this state and the regulation of the Liquor Control Board, legal marijuana is inevitable. So why not be on the forefront and reap the benefits? And I will give you my card. Do you want this?
Sure.
Do the meeting notes? Okay, my partner's name. I'll give you your last name.
We have 3 minutes left. Would there be questions for Mrs. Waite? Or questions for Mr. Milton?
Mr. Milton, excuse me, for Brandon.
I have a question for Brandon, but I don't know if you
Okay.
I'm gonna take a seat.
Is it your intent to follow all the rules and regulations in the city, state, county, United States, whatever the rules are? Is that your intention as a business owner?
I certainly am not going into business looking to break rules. I want to get along. I'm going to follow all the rules that the state has laid out. You bet.
And are you doing that at this point, up to now with your property and your business?
Yeah, unless someone tells me I'm breaking a law I'm not aware of first.
Have you gotten approval through the city for this new business that you're building and preparing for?
I'm not doing anything, Jill, that needs marijuana permitting. So when I'm doing stuff like doing landscaping and, having my building ready, that's just ready for any business. I'm not doing anything specific, in other words, to marijuana.
So even though you've completely changed your business model, then the permitting that you got approval for the auto wrecking yard business still applies to the marijuana business?
I think it sounds like you're mixing the two businesses up. So I've applied as a use for my building for auto use.
Mhm.
And that's the only permit that I have, so it's my intention to have both businesses on the property. So
Mhm.
in other words, what I'm doing is I'm applying to add the marijuana business to the property. And until I have a license, I don't have any, there's not a single scrap of marijuana plant or anything on my property.
Mhm. I understand that, but what I'm saying is, when you change your business model,
I'm not changing it, they're two different businesses. So I have an auto business that has not changed, there's nothing different about that.
Mhm.
And I am applying to also use my property for marijuana. So
Mhm.
separate use, different. But until I get a license to do that, then, you know, that is the process of applying to follow the rules to do with marijuana. In other words, I have a license that's pending right now.
Right, I understand that, but I guess the point I'm making is that when you have a change in the business, the type of business, especially if you're going from a retail type business, which is your,
It's not a change, it's an addition. They're two different businesses.
you're going from,
I'm not going from, I'm adding to.
your original approval was for a retail auto wrecking yard. And now you want to add to that a manufacturing plant or whatever you're building, however you want to call that,
Yeah.
which is completely different from,
I have to intervene in behalf of council here.
Okay.
Their time is up.
okay,
Thank you. Tell her.
excuse me?
I do think
You do
that.
not need to tell me to shut up.
I didn't say it.
I heard it.
Well, I didn't hear it.
I
So, okay. That does sound like there is some confusion as to the status of, but I did hear you state that you're going to have two businesses, one of which you've currently got a permit for, which is the Absolute German. And I think the understanding is that if there is a second business, then there would be a second application.
Exactly. In fact, I don't have a permit for auto wrecking. That's a permit I would have to apply for too. So I guess I don't understand what you mean by I have a permit for auto wrecking. I don't have
Okay.
it.
Well,
I
that
can
may be addressing
explain
an
that
issue
later,
that
I
we need to
guess.
explore in greater detail outside the confines of this workshop.
Sure.
I think it directly applies to this workshop, but that's just my opinion.
Yes, as long as we're focusing on the Absolute German, though, it does kind of.
No, what
help
I'm
you state
focusing
that.
on is that what he's approved to do work on that property is for an auto wrecking retail yard, not a manufacturing plant, had not been approved through the planning and development. What was approved was a retail auto wrecking yard,
Is there
and
any
that is a
misunderstanding?
complete different set of rules and regulations when you're looking at a manufacturing business as opposed to,
I'm
and
not
we're talking
confused
about the
the
building.
question. Are there members of the council confused about her question?
I'm not confused with the question at all.
Okay.
She's got a viable point.
Yeah, and Mr. Wilson?
Well, I'm confused because I was here when this first started. The German auto wrecking. We spent money, I thought, for German auto wrecking for the water and the sewer.
Yes.
And I'm confused. I don't know what permits or anything else we have or whatever we had.
Yes, all the money that was acquired by the city for the installation of water and sewer was for the specific development of the Absolute German auto parts business. But, okay, this workshop, though, needs to focus on the marijuana issue of it, whether or not he's got his, like he indicated, he's not doing any business related to that until that's
Well,
verified
Any
otherwise.
building and development that he's doing on that property that has to do with the manufacturing plant is supposed to be properly permitted.
Did you not
and
state that
and
you
it's
have
not.
done nothing with regard to the marijuana business? on
Guys,
your property?
there's nothing I'm doing there that is specific to marijuana. You know,
Okay.
everything that I'm doing there is, you know, if you wanna look at my building permit, you see that everything there is on a permit.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the same permit I filed for the parts business.
Yeah, so I can get my lip.
And-
I mean, what are you seeing there that you think is not for the parts business, for example? Like, I'm not building any,
Well-
like, what do you think?
Well, in my
is-
conversations with the county development, they said when you change or add a different type of business on the property, then you have to start all over again and reapply. Because it's completely different when you're looking at a retail establishment versus a manufacturing establishment. The other thing is that, I believe, is it Don? He told me that he's had the building officials from the county come out and check all the work that he's doing. And I called and talked to the county, and they said they haven't been out there in years. So I'm wondering what's really going on down there.
You
So-
may have been talking about the water, the biggest issue.
No, we were talking about the building.
I can't speak to that because I
Okay.
don't know the conversation.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you promised me that you were following all the rules and regulations, so that's why I'm concerned about the integrity of.
I think your point's been established, well taken, but we do, in the spirit of fairness, need to hear of those who are opposed to the issue, and we're encroaching on the
I'm
time
sorry.
allocated for it.
Yeah, encroach on the time.
So let's proceed now. We have 4 individuals. Why don't we start from the left and work our way from left to right? So, Mrs. Hicker, you please take the microphone. And we've ensured they'd have 6 minutes. So that would put us at the 24-minute mark, so we'll slop over a bit.
My name is Elizabeth Hicker, and I reside in Vader, outside of the city limits. Thank you for allowing me to come and to speak my mind. Of course, after a certain age, you kind of forget part of it. I've been writing down notes and typing as we have talked, and I do have a few questions that I would like to bring to this project that is coming, that is actually progressing quite quickly, and I was surprised. I have so many questions I don't have enough time to ask all of them. I'm concerned about the exhaust system that will be going in this plant. With the location and the way you have the building, I want to know which way the exhaust is going to go. Is it going to the west, to the south, to the east, to the north? Can you answer that for me?
That's all something that's done as part of the permitting process. And as I've described, that permitting process is not over yet. So that's
So
something that I coordinate with the Liquor Control Board when they do their site visit.
So they're going to tell you which way that exhaust has to go?
They will approve or not approve whatever design I give them. And I do not have a design, I've not picked a direction, if that's what you mean, for which way the building is vented.
Are you aware that most of our air comes from the west to the east? Which means your plant is on the west side, and if it is going, if there's a good wind, which there usually is, that means that air is going to go from the west to the east, and of course the town is east from the
Yeah, I
plant.
see where you're going with that. I mean, those are the kind of issues that I would like the chance to be able to sit down with government, the city government in this case, and work on. I mean, I want to get along. I'm not trying to have more of a problem than I need to. So if it makes more sense to vent it in a certain direction, then I'm certainly open to that.
Okay. How will you be selling or packaging, and in what form? And how will you meet the state standards? In other words, I'm concerned about the whole state, and 330 some people will be coming in or getting a license to produce and to manufacture, or whatever the 3 terms are. And all of the 8 that you have listed are set at tier 3, meaning there's 30,000 square feet that each one of those entities can produce. And if that's so, and all 8 of you get that, you do the math, 30,000 times 8 people, or 8 organizations or entities, that's a massive amount.
Let me skip to that real quick, because it's not 8 applications. So I have 5 companies that I'm talking to right now, and the Liquor Control Board has rolled the quantity back. So the maximum that any one company can plant is 21,000 square feet. And one of our, so Jane is a much smaller than that even. So if you pull together all of the square footage of all the companies that we're talking about.
I'm talking specifically of your property.
I'm saying the maximum for everybody, including me, we're talking less than 2 acres. That's where we are right now
Okay.
for coverage.
Right.
And as far as people coming, I'm required to deliver to them. So in other words, nobody is coming to this site to buy anything, whether retail, wholesale.
I understand
whatever.
that. I understand that. And along with that, Brandon, is the fact that we have no B&O tax in this town. So therefore, since you are manufacturing, producing, packaging, and then you're taking it off-site to your retailers that are buying from you, that means that the city receives no money or nothing from you. Nothing.
But I wouldn't say nothing. I mean, I think there are plenty of jobs that are being created. I think there's tax revenue off of property tax that the city sees directly. And the fact that the city has no B&O tax is not somehow my fault, you know? I mean,
No, it's not.
so if you guys want a B&O tax, let's have a conversation about a B&O tax. If you want to find a way to get revenue from this, then that's something we should talk about.
Well, I just can't see. You keep saying that there is so much money. You keep quoting money, money, money. But yet, when I look and listen deeply, there is no money that is going to benefit the community. The only thing that you're saying is going to benefit the community is a few jobs. And when you say jobs, a few is not very many. And so therefore, you know, it doesn't seem like it's relevant in your conversation to all of us.
Well, I think it's very relevant to people that need a job. I mean, if you need a job, one job is your whole livelihood. And we're talking about not just one job, but, and this is the beginning of an industry where we have the chance to start from scratch and build a business. And
Let's talk a little bit
You
about
have
the
15
morality. I'm
seconds.
sorry,
You have 15 seconds.
that's not enough time.
She can take 2 or more minutes.
Okay, council okay with that?
Yes.
Two.
Okay. The other thing that I'm concerned about is the police coverage. You know, right now we do not have a police force. We really can't afford it. We're a very small rural community in which this large business actually should be in a larger community where you have no restrictions, you don't have anything that really needs to be addressed. You know, you're a big business. So what about our police? Are you going to pay for the extra police force to be here in Vader out of your income?
what I'd like to do is have 24/7 coverage on my property. So,
That's just your property.
right, I'm not gonna be patrolling the streets of Vader, looking out for other people's property. I'm gonna be looking out for the property that I own, the business that I run.
Mhm.
The direction that I'd like to see the city take is to work with our legislature at the state level to lend its support to bills that are already in the pipeline. And what the bills are trying to do is to get direct money from the sale of marijuana that helps to pay for law enforcement. So that was one of the bills that was being tossed around at the last legislative session, and I thought it made a lot of sense. So right now, we're taxing it at 25% every stage, and some of
Right,
that
I
money could be
understand.
funneled to
May
law
I
enforcement.
take my time? I'm sorry. The other issue is water. Water, water, water. We have plenty coming out of the sky. We also have creeks, and we also have aquifer, but we take our water from the Cowlitz River. Is the city going to be able to support the amount of water that is necessary for the fumigation of this project? And the other thing for that is that what rights have you already applied for water rights to use or wells or anything like that? Don't take my picture. That is not very nice. Chemigation, I know that you have said before
Okay,
that,
you have now 15 seconds.
okay, you're not going to use it. I don't think that's true. Thank you.
Okay, next.
My name is Tracy Johnson, and I am an educator in one of the communities surrounding or neighboring Vader. And I am here to speak as an advocate for children. And in this society, we talk a lot about the dangers of smoking cigarettes and what harmful things that does on the body, but you sure have not heard a lot about what harmful things on the body marijuana does. Not a lot of talk about that. You also hear a lot about the dangers of secondhand smoke in children, but you certainly have not heard a lot about the danger of secondhand smoke of marijuana in children. Since the time of the law being passed that of recreational marijuana, immediately I had one student come to school at 2 different times, just reeking of marijuana smoke. And I cannot even begin to think about the effects upon that child throughout the day of just trying to be an educator. Our children have needs of their parents. They need their parents to be able to financially support them. They have needs, basic needs. And if families are using their finances for recreational use in this way, then that takes from the needs of the children. They also have needs for emotional. They need parents to be alert and aware and in the present with their children, not to be zoned out and, ineffective and, just not in the present in the child life. I appreciate the need for medical marijuana. I understand that need, and I think that's between an individual and their physician and that kind of thing. But it concerns me very much to think about the children that will be affected. And I found this little leaflet on my way in here, and it is from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, also from the National Institute on Health, and I'd like to quote a couple passages for you. It comes from page 5, the second paragraph, about halfway down. It says, research also suggests that family members' use of alcohol and drugs plays a strong role in whether children and teens start using drugs, making parents, grandparents, older brothers and sisters models for their children to follow. Turn the page to page 7. It talks about what you know about marijuana. One of the sections is called Marijuana is Associated with School Failure. Marijuana's negative effects on attention, motivation, memory, and learning can last for days and sometimes weeks after its immediate effects wear off, especially in chronic users. Someone who smokes marijuana daily may be functioning at a reduced intellectual level most or all of the time. Compared with their non-smoking peers, students who smoke marijuana tend to get lower grades and are more likely to drop out of high school. Long-term marijuana users report decreased overall life satisfaction, including diminished mental and physical health, memory and relationship problems, lower salaries, and less career success. Now, if I'm thinking that the parents and the family have a great effect upon the children of our communities, and then I have to think that what would the message be if a community encourages and supports the development of production of products that we know research has shown, it's even presented for our use or in our knowledge right here, using research about the effects upon the children. And so I just want you to consider that as you consider what is the message you will send to the families and to the community and to the children of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect timing. Okay, let's proceed with opponent number 3.
I'm honored to be here tonight, especially to be in the presence of a World War II veteran and VE Day today. My name is Boyd Calder. I'm an educator. I teach at-risk youth in Centralia High School, and I also teach classes at Centralia College in strengthening families and then parents in recovery. I also have a vested interest in this area because I'm a congregational leader of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm the bishop of that congregation, and part of my boundaries include Vader and Riderwood and Winlock and Napaline. I come today to, I'm in the trenches a little bit. I understand, and I'm not going to go into the politics of the initiative. It's flawed. There's some things in there that the cart's way ahead of the horse right now with what's happening with the regulations that the state is not coming up with or has come up with, and so that's a thought for later, but there's a lot of things wrong with it. And the other thing, just because it's legal doesn't make it right. And I love this area. I've chosen to be here. I've been here for 24 years. I drive this around this community and I see the potential and the wonder that's here. I go to Little Crane Cafe to have a strawberry milkshake now and again, and I look at the wall and I see the history and the legacy that has been provided for us here. And I think, and I guess I address this to the city council or whoever, use our imaginations. We can maybe come up with some better ways to generate jobs and opportunities. Maybe this isn't the best thing. I appreciate the efforts of people that want to stimulate the economy and help, but marijuana is not harmless. I see it ruin the lives of young people. I've seen it ruin members of my family, personally. And so to say it's a harmless thing, it's not. And it's not a trivial thing. It's not just something to laugh about. It's a serious matter, and I think serious consideration needs to be put into any type of business that would promote this. The message we send to our young people, it's already out there. And it's not at the high school level that it's devastating. It's in the middle school, it's in the elementary. These young kids they deserve a chance they get. And it's our responsibility as responsible adults to ensure the safety of our children. That should be our utmost and foremost responsibility. And when I get to work with parents who have lost their children and are trying desperately to get them back because of choices they made using substances that are harmful, to see them know that they've lost the most precious thing and maybe having a chance to help bring them back, it's a little bit rewarding, but I just think, what could have I done before? Instead of picking up the pieces, maybe I could be more in the preventable mode of this. So I would say use your imaginations. Maybe there's something out there that we can find that would be more beneficial than a marijuana wholesale retail operation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for being here and your commentary. Our last speaker.
I'll try and stick to 4 minutes.
Okay.
My name is Julie Smith. I am a resident of Vader. I'm the wife of the mayor. I'm a mother of 7 children and the grandmother of 19 grandchildren. And I'm a Cub Scout den leader. And we are tiny. This is a tiny town. And we can't absorb like a bigger city. I believe in that every person does the best they can. And I really wish I had a bunch of money, Mr. Milton. I'd buy you out and we'd start a bakery. I know how to make some awesome stuff for our town. I don't think that living right up the hill like you do, that I wouldn't not smell your business. And I think that like playing chess, you know, one has more power and knocks the other one out. Well, a town votes for men to lead. That trumps you. I think money speaks and it has power, but this America that we have as a free people, where we have the right to decide how our community, we're a corporated city, how we will conduct things trumps you. And I just feel bad if you lose money. I think you need to get all your money you've invested and do something. And but our town is too tiny. I don't think that it would become your town. And I think that we, as long as we can, have the right to vote and the right and the authority and the legal right in this country, we need to use it. And I urge the city council to please use all the power that you have to keep this town. It's too small. It's too much of a baby yet to handle something like this. Thanks.
Okay, very good. Well, who'd have figured? It's 6:36, and I hope I speak for the council when I commend those who've provided their opinions and perspectives during this workshop. Well done, respectfully and civilly, regardless of your perspective on the issue. So with that, is there any commentary from members of the council?
I think it was very informative to the people who were against and for to get up and speak their own piece, and it's a good way to let the message get out one way or another.
Okay. If there are no other comments, then I will officially adjourn this meeting at 6:32 p.m.